Hello, it's Molly Reamer from Bridget's Grove and 30 Days of Goddess, and I got a question about how do you get from this, as in flat new prayer book with blank pages, with blank pages, how do you get from that to this? This is a finished, this is from September, that's my finished prayer book, and look at the difference there between that. So how do you get from this to that? And so I wanted to make a video that more specifically focused on that, like the actual creation of prayer book pages and where do I find things to put in them. And so I've spent a lot of time talking about how you don't need to feel pressured to make, to do an elaborate job. You can keep it simple if you want to. But I was thinking maybe people need some ideas about where to find things to put them in their prayer books. And the thing I wanted to make sure to mention, as I've said before, this 30 Days of Goddess practice is not about the book. It's not about making the best, fanciest, amazing book at all. It's about your experience. It's about creating a sacred space for your experience. It's about a container for what you're learning and discovering. And so the book becomes a portable tiny temple. It becomes a sacred space. It becomes an archive of your wisdom and your magic. And it becomes like a holding space, a safe space, a container, a place to come home to, a place to kind of return yourself to center. And it becomes a storage place for all these little bits of magic from 1 month. So this book, holds the magic of your month then. And so, yes, the practice is not about the book, but creating a book gives you it makes a space for you in your own life, and it gives you a finished package of everyday sacredness when it's finished. So one of the things I do is, and you can see in this one, I've got this one started for October, I do some advanced prep on it where I reinforce the inside covers with other cards and I add my little pockets. I do that before the first of the month. This one already has some prayer reminder cards in it, and so I do that before the first of the month so I don't have to do too much prep. This one I was doing something fun where I used a card and I made it fold out, and then I have some extra art cards in it, and then I made this greeting card envelope into a pocket for me to hold stuff. So eventually I'll probably tuck my cards in there. This will also hold supplies that I'm currently working with, and eventually this will get very fat as well. But right now it is a blank slate ready to hold my magic and my wisdom and the experiences of a life. That's what it's holding. It's holding the experiences of a life. And it has, the pre-printed journals have prayer cards in them already. They have cut outable quote-unquote stickers. They have tiny little message affirmation cards in them already. I've cut a couple of those out because I was making something else. But it's kind of grab and go. It's kind of there as a little container for sacred experiencing in your life. I used a sticker on the front that I got from Dandelion Lady that I added. I'm one of her patrons on Patreon, and then I will add to this as I go through, and it will become fat and full of wisdom like this one is. And so I'm going to do a little flip through of it now. And so again, the inside cover is reinforced. This one I have a bookmark in. Sometimes the pocket is really bulging with all the stuff that I've added. This one, since I'm wrapping the book up, I've used up that stuff or I've transferred it to another book. I did color this and I used a sticker, and then the inside back cover still has stuff I'm waiting to use. It has one of these little these are little glassine paper envelopes that you get like from a bakery to put cookies or something in. You can get them in bulk online too, and make they make perfect little pockets, and they also make a nice little crackly sound. And this one I ended up making a pull-out card because I just liked it. I used some cardboard from a box that some underwear had come in. And the red, I liked the red, so I cut that box up and I used it to mount a picture and poem from a Wee Moon date book, an older edition, and I used a poem in the back. This one got really wrinkly, and that's okay. Sometimes it gets wrinkly. The inside reinforcement here is a leftover map from the kids' summer reading program that they did at the library, and I don't want to throw away good cardstock, so I cut it up and used it as the reinforcement for the inside of my cover. I have Dancing Goddess Dolls had a mood tracker that was Persephone themed, which I loved. I only have a black and white printer, so I printed it out. Who cares that it gets a little fuzzy and doesn't look the greatest? It's what I have, and I did color it a little bit with colored pencils to make it a little jazzier. I do not know where this butterfly Labrys goddess image, I don't know who did the art of this originally. I've had this for a long time. I recently found it in some scrap stuff that I had that was left over. I'd used this as a card for a croning ceremony, and so I just stuck it in here. It still had my words on the back that I'd written for the crones of the croning ceremony, which I have to say was a ceremony from probably 2012. So I've hung on to this for a long time, and it finally found a home in the back of my book. But anyway, I like having this like kind of divider back here. And so I do keep the moon wheel. I did color this, but again, if you don't color things, that's okay. There's not a right way. And the moon wheel, I do a combination of rune tracking, cycle tracking, mood tracking, that kind of stuff. You can use it in a lot of different ways. And then, like I said, these become kind of a holding space for your day. It becomes, as I move through my day, I'm like alert for things that I can add to my book. So the book itself becomes kind of a touch point with the magic of the day, but also a touch point with being alert, with being present, with attending to what's going on around you. So I found some raccoon fur by the side of the road, and I made a pocket, and I put the raccoon fur in the pocket. Then I'd finished reading a magazine. I punched some stuff out of the magazine. This is a little lady, this little leaf I found on the road, and I stuck that in there. This little sticker picture came from Amanda Fall, the Phoenix Soul, whom I patron of Patreon. This cactus washi tape I've had for a long time, so I just added that. This was punched out of a greeting card from a charity, stuck a little note on it. I have these tiny little envelope notes that I'd gotten. And my daughter wrote me a little note that says, "Thank you for snuggling me." And I thought that was so sweet that I stuck it in my pocket. I really loved it. And then I went ahead and just made these extra cards. These were from a print, something I'd printed that the alignment wasn't quite right on. So, but I kept them instead of recycling them and turned them into, whoops, that one's torn apart. Sorry about that. Into a little book. And I hear my crow buddies talking over there in the trees. I'm sorry about my lighting today. It's overcast and it's a little hard to keep the lighting in focus. So I vary whether I'm using affirmations that I cut out of the back or whether they're things I printed out separately, but I provide lots of those things available. I make a set of them available for free every month, and then members of our Patreon community, which is patreon.com/Bridget'sGrove, get basically people who are on our Patreon get everything printable that I make kind of always. And so if I have extra cards, or if I make extra affirmations, or I make extra prayer cards, the patrons always get it. And then the things I make available for free are kind of like thanks to the patrons for being there, so I can create those things and share them with everybody. But patrons get everything. The public community gets, like a limited selection that I've drawn out of the things that I've made for the patrons. My kids are doing what's called a super secret notebook in their homeschooling class, and so there's some different techniques in there, and one of them was to make rings on a piece of paper using a toilet paper tube dipped in paint, and so I did that with this one. And that's why that page looks different, because I did that while my kids were working on their school. I went ahead and did a page in my book while they were working on their books. Oops, my little note's a little stuck in. That one has parts of a poem that I had read for, I printed this poem out. I was doing a presentation for the Parliament of the World's Religions, and after we met for the recording of the Parliament section, I thought of this poem that I'd written earlier this year, and so I went ahead and printed the copy out and stuck it in on the day that we did our recording. So that's kind of like a memory of this is how I felt when we were doing our Parliament recording, and now it's stuck in here, immortalized. This was from that same underwear package that I was talking about. This was another technique from the kids' super secret notebook assignment where you back it with you back it with a magazine page, and then you do art over it, so it's kind of layered up. So that's where that one came from. I'm doing a Symbol Seeker's journey with Fiona Beth of Global Village Witch, and so I make an oracle card for each day. Each week I make a new oracle card, and I print out a printout of the oracle card that I was working on at it. Washi tape that our Bridget's Grove moderator Carmen had sent me for a present. And then this one has some of those daily practice prayer cards that I've made available to everybody. This one has some of those made into a tiny book and stuck in the pocket. I was trying to do some pockets at the top to even out, this way it gets bottom heavy. I am sorry about the light. It gets bottom heavy because of all the pockets that I put in, but what I realized is if I put them at the top, then it can only have a very short thing in it or it sticks out, and so stuff starts to fall. I was trying to balance it out, and then I realized, you know what, it's okay that it gets bottom heavy. They belong at the bottom, really. And then we went on a small trip, a really short, close to home trip, and this one, I had a card, and then the back of it was a prayer that was on a ad, or I think it was a request for a donation from UU, the UU Service Committee, and I liked the little prayer, so I put that out. And then this was so basically, that's what I was saying is you have to be alert, not you have to be, but it's great to be alert for opportunities like kind of everywhere. And I've spoken and written and talked a lot about being like alert for magic everywhere, alert for enchantment everywhere, you know, and if I could have a little hashtag or a little, you know, a little tagline, it would be like magic happens, you know, like magic happens all the time, whether you see it or not, whether you bear witness to it or not. And so we have the opportunity in honing daily practice and in honing our relationship with the world around us, we have the opportunity to like open our eyes to that, to bear witness to that, to see it. And so this was like, I'm on a, you know, I think this was on a magazine, the electric company magazine that I get. They send out, the electric cooperative sends out a magazine every month. And I was like, ooh, I see a flower. And so I cut it out. It didn't quite fit, so I made it kind of fold out. I cut a butterfly off something else and stuck it in. And then these were crepe myrtle flowers that were at our little condo kind of resort place that we'd gone to stay at Table Rock Lake. I found some crepe myrtle flowers and I pressed them in there. This little note that I made a fold out with was from Chelsea, who's one of our Creative Spirit Circle moderators too, and then I stuck a note in there. And then I went ahead, why not make a little fold out there? So it's like multi-layered experience. These hold a lot. They hold space for you, and they hold you in space, so to speak. So we were at the resort. I used the map of the property, and for the background here, little feather that I found, little picture that I took, and then more crepe myrtle flowers, and I had found some wild chamomile, and so I pressed a piece of that in there and then used that as a background. So and this is our room key holder. So you kind of find things everywhere. This was a strange little picture that was in a magazine, Own Your Awesome. I think that's like Joan of Arc, so that's kind of, I don't know if that's like almost a little disrespectful of her, but I liked the idea, and why not stick it on my little card, and I stuck it on one of my own 30 Days of Goddess business cards. Some goose feathers that were at the lake where we were feeding the turtles, and I made an affirmation into a tiny pocket and then put the goose feathers in the tiny pocket, and then a little fold out on the front there, and then daily practice reminder in here. I'm not sure if you can hear the crows, but they always make me happy. And then this was the day we went on a boat ride on Table Rock Lake, so I cut that part of the map out and put that in here. Then I came home. I found a tiny hummingbird feather on the hibiscus, or not hibiscus, the hydrangea, and so I put it in a little envelope and stuck it in there. This was like a cake decorating article. I punched it out. These are little leftover snippets from Wee Moon that I went ahead and punched out. This is a Wee Moon thing too. I had some new stickers, made a little fold out. I had a leftover bit that I wasn't using for anything else, so I made it into the cover of a teeny tiny book. And like I said, these become kind of like choose your own adventure then. As you go back through them, you can like touch back in with your wisdom and the things that you learned, and kind of have a multi-leveled tactile exploratory experience of going back through. This one was another for the kids' super secret notebooks. There was a technique where you're supposed to write some things and then do painting over it, and so I used a piece of extra paper so that I didn't bleed through, and I painted over it and then I stuck it into my page. Then I put a pocket on it, I had some leftover text from that other poem that I showed you on another page. Made a little fold out, a little card with some of the stickers, the non-sticker stickers. And then this was again leftovers from Wee Moon that I went ahead and stuck. I think it was a piece of that underwear box again. And I made it kind of a little reminder card with multiple little affirmations on it stuck in there. This is a coin envelope, like you're supposed to keep collector coins in. This is a tea bag. I was throwing away a box of tea, or I had finished a box of tea and I was putting the box into the recycling, and then I noticed this cute little chamomile flowers and the vanilla beans and like honey on it. And I thought, well, I'm going to punch that out and stick it in my book instead, because tea, keeping yourself tended with tea and time and touch and tenderness matters too. And then this was cut off of I'd gotten a new lip balm from Rooted Beauty, and so I saw that on the lip balm box and I cut it out as well. And then I kept my tea bag tag and I put it on a prayer card, because I thought, you know what, I need to remember that those moments with my tea are a sacred space too. This one I made a teeny tiny pocket for a teeny tiny feather. Another one on this page, teeny tiny pocket for a teeny tiny feather. This tiny pocket has a tiny book in it. And oops, oh my goodness, my tiny feather's getting away from me. I had made this. I was in the car, like on the way to the dentist, and I had a couple of leftover tiny affirmations, and I had a leftover piece of paper, and I was like, I'm going to make a tiny book out of it. So I made a tiny book out of it and stuck it in my tiny pocket. If you want to make a pocket, all you do is put glue on 3 sides instead of all the way on the back, and then it makes a pocket for you. Another Symbol Seekers card, pressed leaf. This is a sticker. Piece of chicory that I found on a walk. And then these are some of the leaves that are just turning, and a tiny book. Just in general, the books can hold what? Speak to you. This one, I am one of Amanda Fall, the Phoenix Souls patrons on Patreon, and she sends art mail every month. And so I like how other people's voices and presence is reflected in the books. It's like a compendium of experience. It's a compendium of experience. And so when you get done with the month, you can look back at it, and it's like it's encapsulation of your month and everything that it held. And sometimes I think it's a good reminder, like our lives all hold so much. Our lives hold so much. And so it can be helpful to see that represented, like how much you hold, how much the people around you hold, and how much story and power one life holds. So she had made that little card, and I stuck that in there. Another little pocket, Wee Moon. Wee Moon. I highly recommend getting a Wee Moon for the purposes of cutting up, as well as for inspiration. I'm doing a Willendorf circle using the Sacred Body Willendorf anthology from Girl God Books, and so we had a meeting, and so I used Willendorf image. We're working on our own Willendorf goddess. I sculpted her a while ago, but we had trouble with her head, so we fixed her head now, and I think she's going to be able to be put into the shop soon. So she's chilling with me today. And another little note from, oh no, that's a note for myself. I wrote a note to myself during our session, because we're talking about the sacred body, and so I wrote a note, like a reminder, if your body wanted to talk to you, what would she tell you? And I wrote that note, and then I went ahead, these are body positive, little card, and I stuck that in the pocket as a reminder. So the book holds this, it holds, like I said, it holds this space for you, and also reminds you of where you've been and what you've learned. So turkey feather, tiny feathers, turkey feathers, bits. Oh yeah, I made those into a teeny tiny pocket on top of my teeny tiny book. So there's a teeny tiny book with a teeny tiny pocket and a teeny tiny feather. And then that book is inside another tiny pocket with another tiny feather. And that kind of stuff is fun for me. And then this, we had a ritual for our son who was turning 18, and so we had a coming of age ritual for him. Oops. Sometimes sometimes I put stuff in before it's finished gluing, and that comes back to get me. So one of the readings, I had an outline of the things we were doing at his ritual, and I went ahead and cut it out and put it in, as well as one of the things we read to him. I made that into a little card because then it's holding this memory of what we experienced in our journey together. Oh, and I found the turkey feather in the driveway at his ritual. So that's there, kind of holding that space. And then I had a few more things from him, so that one was from his ritual too. So I extended over into the next day. His birthday party was his ritual and his birthday party were a couple days before his actual birthday. So that's in there with the washi tape. Then it was the Autumn Equinox, so I had our own mandala. I didn't finish coloring that. That's okay. You don't have to finish coloring stuff to still have it count. Had a Hecate wheel. This was we took him out to lunch on his birthday, and that's what I mean about you're always scoping and scanning for opportunities. You're always alert for opportunities. So we took him out to a restaurant for his birthday. We got one of the business cards from the restaurant. I made it into a little tag and put it in my book. Then it holds that memory. And another little leaf tag as well. Then we had our family ceremony for the Autumn Equinox, and I kept some of the components from the mandala that I'd made and put those in my little pocket. The other pieces here are cut from Living the Questions and then cut out from a travel magazine. That's actually an ad in the travel magazine, and I liked some of the messaging from the ad, and so I cut out the part I wanted and put it in. So everything is fodder for your prayer book. Another tiny book. Oh, yeah. And then, oops. Sorry about that. This is the reading we did, which this came from Dandelion Lady also, and this was the reading we did during our fall ceremony, and so I went ahead and kept the words from it and put it into my tiny book. So the book is holding all these experiences and all this wisdom. Another card from Symbol Seekers, another little note, another little leaf. You can see some similarities here. This is from Tales of a Kitchen Witch. I was going to finish color. She provides coloring pages for her patrons on Patreon. I was going to finish coloring it. I don't think I am. I think I'm just going to leave it how it is and keep going because the September book feels complete now. And we went to another lake. I put a flower in there. This was from Dandelion Lady also. I highly recommend becoming an art patron of some art people who send you art mail because then it increases your opportunities for your book. This was a business card from a photographer that I turned into a little note, a little insert left over from Wee Moon. I had some Tiny Pocket for Tiny Feather, another Symbol Seekers card. These don't always line up. I don't always stick them in the day that I make them. They are sometimes just where they find room. And then I had another piece of writing I'd done for a writing prompt for Jennifer Loudon in her Oasis, and so I just went ahead and printed it out. I didn't want to rewrite it, so I just printed it out and made it into a little fold out, and then I used some scraps from the Wee Moon I currently have, things I wasn't going to use for something else. I used those on the back side and made kind of a little fold out there. And then pieces from a magazine, little prayer card note. There's all kinds of ways that you can do this. And this is from Dandelion Lady also. And this is left over from our fall. Oh, there go the crows, 3 of them, over the house. I love them. This leaf was from our fall ceremony too, left over from the mandala that we'd done at our fall ceremony. So I stuck that in there. So essentially, and then there's one extra page because September only has 30 days, and I will add something to this, so this will be covered up. It won't just be a blank page. Then I colored the final mandala, and then all my add-ins have been ripped out. All my pages have been ripped out, the extra stuff that you can tear out, because I really like to make these books ideally be kind of a self-contained kit of materials. So even if you don't have anything else, as long as you have colored pens, or maybe just black pen, okay, as long as you have a writing implement of some kind, and as long as you have something to cut with, and if you have a glue stick, you can have a self-contained kit. It can just be pen, book, tiny scissors, and glue stick, and you're covered. This can be self-contained. You can create from only that. So the little books that we sell in the shop, they are kind of a self-contained experience. If you have no other supplies, if you have no other magazines, you have no other things, you can at least use what you have that's already included in that book to get going. So it's kind of infinitely flexible, infinitely variable, and infinitely enjoyable. And there's so many ways to work with it. So that's just me. That's just what I've done. If you go to the 30 Days of Goddess hashtag on Instagram, you can see things that other people have done and their methods. A lot of people are really into their oracle cards, and so they incorporate a lot of oracle card work in their journals. A lot of people, people write new things, people quote things, people cut things out, people, copy favorite passages that they like. There's all kinds of things that can be done, and I do provide all kinds of stuff too that you can print out and use. And you're perfectly welcome to print. If I put a poem on Instagram that you want to include, you're perfectly welcome to print that out and just glue it on your page. It doesn't have to be something new that you've written. You can print out something that I've written and stick it in there, or print out something that somebody else has written that you enjoy and stick it in there. I'm not advocating stealing information from people, but as far as I'm concerned, if I put something on my Instagram, that's fully fine with me if somebody wants to print that out. I do appreciate attribution, and I appreciate it, not being shared, not pretending like you wrote it. I appreciate attribution for the things that I've written, but I consider them, you're welcome to print out pretty much anything that I write and stick it in your book if you want to. And so that's where we are. That's how you get from this to that. So thanks for being here. I know this was long, but I wanted to more fully explore the process of going from this to that instead of just flipping through. So I am aware that it is long, and I hope you find it helpful in some way. Thank you so much for being here, and may this process of daily practice nourish, enrich, and inspire your life.